Those of you who check my community tab would know that I posted about Hulk Hogan, the WWE legend. He is now unable to move his legs. He's paralyzed waist down. And they're trying to figure out whether it's because of the operation or because of, the nerve damage, or what is it? Either way, Hulk Hogan, who I think is past his 60s, I mean, if you were to just skim through his biography, he has been through so much, man. I'm sure the people who are watching my video, some of you who are young, you might just know, okay, he's a superstar of WWE. But for those of you who are like from the 80s, like from my era, would have seen, just Google search. I'll tell you, just Google search how Hulk Hogan looked when he started off. He was massive, yeah. It's like, for example, if I'm standing here, if Hulk Hogan would stand here, he would be somewhere here, and he would be like this broad, big. He was naturally a very big human being, and obviously, steroids and exercise. So he was massive. Now, for the early days, that, what's his real name? Terry Bollea or something? For the early days, you didn't have to have see, look at this spider. The spider, I don't know if you can see it. I'll just be careful. See, this is a spider. There are these massive spiders. I don't know if you can see it. There are spiders bigger than this, much bigger than my hand also. And they spin a web once again. So, anyway, see a lot of wildlife here. Sometimes you just see a snake slithering by and you're like, okay. Anyway, so what I was saying was, for the early days, Hulk Hogan, he didn't have to, the moves, wrestling performers have certain moves. Sorry, I'm just making this camera okay. So wrestling, oof, this is a little bit of a headache. Wait, just will make this okay. Okay, so wrestlers had to have moves like jumping, and when you see wrestling, they jump from up and all that. But in the early days, wrestlers were supposed to be big and huge, like above 6 feet, massive, like big body weight. They were supposed to be heavyweights. Today, however, if you see wrestlers, you see guys who are small, slim, tiny, and wrestling moves have also become complicated. It's more like somersault in the air and unbelievable athletic ability. Like they will somersault and twist, and then they do splits, and the risks have become much more. Like if you once again Google search Mankind versus Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. This is one of the most legendary matches in the history of wrestling. It was the first time a wrestler from the top of the cage, which is I think 18 feet high, allowed another wrestler to throw him, like, they are playing a part. So he throws Mankind from the top of the cage, and he falls on top of a table. That was the first time it ever happened. And people thought he died, And actually that falling, that high-risk maneuver, the reason why he did it, that guy Mankind, he is known for doing risky moves. Like, they were, thumbtacks, what you put on, paper you stick on the, cardboard. It's like a metal with a small pin. They used to throw that on the ground and fall on top. In fact, if you search once again on Google, you'll see hardcore wrestling. But be careful if you see that, because it's restricted. They literally have glass pieces, barbed wires, electrical, this thing, spikes. And some of them, when they do these wrestling, they end up with a cut which is so deep, blood all comes all over. You'll see bits and pieces of their skin. In fact, one of them, this is a documentary, I think, on Vice, where this guy takes a wooden stick with nails and he hits him on the head with a hammer, and that actually sticks to his head. It is so deeply embedded, and they're trying to remove it out. He's alive, but they're trying to get it out, and they had to use pliers and all that, and finally it was stuck in his skull, man. Nail, just imagine. So you might be asking yourself why people do such crazy things. Well, there is the entertainment value, there is demand, and these guys enjoy their adrenaline high. It's more like, when you're kids, you do and you fight and you feel great. So for some of them, this continues and it becomes a way of life to earn money. So, like I was saying, the wrestling landscape from the 70s and 80s, from very big, huge guys like Bruno Sammartino, I think his name is, the massive big guys, and their only moves that they had was power moves, like hit like this or just thump like this, like a gorilla, like, big power moves, like you'll smash and hit and all that. And Hulk Hogan had a specific move that when you hit him, he's down, then you get superpowers, and then you hit him, he's in, no, nothing will happen. It was so funny. And finally, and then he would do his famous finishing move. The finishing move is where after you do that, it's a climax. Means a person cannot get up after you do that. Every superstar had a finishing move. Hulk Hogan had. It was called the Python leg drop, where you run and the guy is sleeping down. You run and then you jump in the air and he lands on his butt. His leg, his thigh is on the guy's face or chest. And obviously the bum, the rear end, takes the fall. Now the problem with that move was he used to land on his butt. Now we would see one match, like they would have a wrestling match. He would land on his butt and we would feel it is harmless. But imagine doing that move every single day of your life for 20, 30 years. And another thing which you need to keep in mind is he's jumping up in the air. And when he's landing, he's not landing on his legs. Like when we land on our legs, we have the ankle, the knees, the waist, the joints. 3, they take the blunt force. But here when he was landing on his buttocks, his spine, his entire spine, along with his head, took the entire pressure of falling down with gravity. And obviously he was a heavy guy, he was not a light guy. So by doing this every single day, day after day, night after night, and not forgetting that we only saw him doing the show, they have to do practice sessions also. You can't just have this thing with another person. You have to practice. So every day when you practice and you do it and you're traveling and, it takes a toll on your body, man. See, if you're a 20-year-old, you'll not understand this. But I'll tell you, see, when you're young, you can jump and take high risks and all that. But as you grow older, when you jump and do anything, like today, if I were to jump, man, I can end up getting injury because my joints and my bones are brittle. It is not the same. As you get older, your bones harden. They become like brittle. In some cases, they become like glass. That is why if you see, I'm sure you must have heard that a grandma or someone just fell down. They just, they fell down, like from the chair or something, and their waist, hip their hip just broke, their bones broke. It is because your body can't take it here. So doing this again and again, obviously steroids and having the big heavy weight, his body could not take it anymore. And see, once your body gets damaged, and once you have a surgery, you cut your body is never the same. That is why women, after they give birth, their bodies is not the same. They gain weight. Most women, I'm not talking the athletic ones who dedicate their lives to fitness and have doctors and dietitian, nutritionists and money for stem cell research and steroids. No, I'm talking normal people like you and me who have to, not like me, I mean like who have to go to work, a 9 to 6 job or whatever, stress of day-to-day life. You can't. Your body is not the same. Like, just simple. My wife, married her when she was, I think, 24. No, not 24. What? 27. And now she is in her 30s. And she has gained weight, and now she doesn't have the stamina like before because she's not working. She's put on weight. So, Hulk Hogan had these surgeries. But one more problem is when you're a famous superstar and you have a brand name, you can't stop. And Hulk Hogan was like the biggest thing. Like, the wrestling was identified as Hulk Hogan. He was the superstar. He was a good guy. He used to come on commercials, products. You remember the Hulk figures and all that, comic books. Then he even tried to go into Hollywood, and he was called for conferences, for events, to promote. And Vince McMahon and WWE made sure he was the face of the company. And that takes a toll on your body, man. So eventually, the wear and tear, and obviously, he was drinking alcohol. I don't know if you're smoking, but obviously drinking alcohol, drugs, having this late night life and traveling. Traveling itself is crazy, man. And going from city to city, and he worked his ass off. But the thing is, he made millions, but he also spent millions. He spent millions like crazy. And then obviously, if you know his story, he eventually got sued by his wife. He lost all his money. He got sued for, sex tape and all that. The crazy stuff that these guys do because they're seeking pleasure and happiness. And then one lawsuit after another, and they try to make a comeback. And obviously, if you see, even 50s and 60s, his body is still big and he's in shape because once you take steroids, you can't stop. And the mass that he's carrying on his body, you can't stop, man. You can't stop. If you stop, if Hulk Hogan were to stop the steroids and everything else in his body, he will be 20% the size. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, all these guys who have taken steroids from a young age, from their 20s, you cannot stop. They will not admit this. Obviously, they're not going to tell you. But they do take, whether it's HGH, human growth hormone, or TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, or stem cell research, or they'll forever take. Like, for example, Magic Johnson, who had AIDS, is cured of AIDS. How? If you have the money, if you have the resources, you can do anything. But there is a price to pay. The human body is not meant to be manipulated to such a level. So now comes the part, what's next for this guy? And what are the lessons we can learn from him? If you look at his life, you can come up with 10,000 lessons. Don't spend money unwisely. Don't be addicted to alcohol. Take care of your body. Yeah. You can go on and on, lecturing people about the 10 lessons that, Hogan taught us, and lessons we should learn. But I can tell you this much. Hulk Hogan lived a life that Hulk Hogan has to. Maybe someone else, if he was in his place, maybe he would have done things differently. But it's very difficult to say. And I'll tell you why. Because see Hulk Hogan, how he destroyed his life. See The Undertaker, physically his body is so decimated. Torn shoulder, torn leg, and torn kneecap, and hip replacement, and back surgery, and neck surgery. Triple H's quad muscle was ripped off from the bone, man, in one of the wrestling matches. Vince McMahon, both his quads were torn. Kurt Angle, multiple neck surgeries. Shawn Michaels, with the kicks he received, his eye retina is detached. That's why Shawn Michaels now looks like he has a lazy eye, squinty. Triple H almost tore his pectoral muscle when he went to Saudi for wrestling. So it's very easy for us to pass our opinion and judgment and say, you should have done this, should have done that. I'm pretty sure if we ever are in their place, we wouldn't be able to handle their life. But all I can think of is that, as we get older, the sins of our past. Sins means the actions or the things which we are either careful about or not careful about. They come back to you. You can't escape the price. Like, that's why so many youngsters, I tell them, see, listen, don't mess around, man. Don't do this or don't do that, or don't give up your college, or don't fall in love and get married early, or don't fall for this course which will make you quick rich. And you can only tell them, no. End of the day, they'll do what they want to do, right? You have girls who say, no, I love him, I have to have the baby of his baby, or I'll not feel fulfilled, I'll never forgive myself if I don't do this, do that. People give up a career and chase a dream. All that is fine, but there's a price to pay, no? Like they say, every action has a reaction. So, I think the single biggest lesson that I can think of with Hulk Hogan is whatever actions you do of the past, they will just, compound. And one fine day, they will just collapse all on you. Hulk Hogan, you could say, has been a cat with many lives, 9 lives, where even though bankruptcies, even though surgeries, even though all these mistakes, even though legal trouble. By the way, I think his son died, no? His son got an accident and died drunk driving. With all this, he can't undo his past. Today, he needs a stick to walk. But if you were to ask him, did he live his life to the fullest? So 100% you'll say, oh, I lived my life to the fullest. Who wouldn't want a life filled with such kind of opportunities and all? But remember, he was a special kind of human being. You and me wouldn't survive that kind of punishment or that kind of lifestyle. So each one is different. So if I could give you a kind of like encapsulate a moral of the story, I would just say that do what you have to do. But at the end of the day, keep in mind, you have to pay the price. Nobody else is going to pay the price. It's only you. You do good, you play smart, be intelligent, you'll enjoy the benefits. You make plenty of wrong decisions and take too big risks and think that you can fool people and take shortcuts and think when you're in your 20s, you're invincible. then you'll pay the price for it. And then it all depends. How long do you have to suffer? How much you have to suffer? And until when you'll keep suffering. And that's where finally your story will end. Remember this much, you, me, everyone. We all have just one life, and that's all that there is. Whatever other bull people tell you, oh, afterlife, heaven, hell, take it from one ear, put it out the other ear. Nobody has gone there, nobody has seen it, there's no evidence. Don't give me bull. I'll tell you, it'll be a sad day when Hulk Hogan is no more. For us old timers who grew up seeing these superstars, whether Ric Flair, Undertaker, Bret the Hitman Hart, Hulk Hogan, we grew up and they are a part of our childhood. Maybe wrestling is not today what it once was, but when it was at its peak, oof, we would not miss it for the world. And remember, there was no internet, nothing those days. So we would wait for a VHS tape. Somehow someone would get it from some, or pirated or whatever. We'd watch it and you'd see the match and think, wow, it's real. This is the good guy, this is a bad guy. He gets superpowers. Anyway, life goes on. And have to manage, right? Same shit, different day. Anyway, this is what I wanted to share with you guys. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Are you also old timer like me? And your favorite memory, your favorite WWE match of Hulk Hogan? Mine would be Hulk versus Andre the Giant, the classic one, when he lost his belt to Ultimate Warrior. And finally, I think the last one was with The Rock. Those were the three. And maybe for comedic sense or sarcasm, him with Shawn Michaels when Shawn Michaels oversold his moves. You can Google search all these. Right? You guys take care. This is me signing off. And yeah, let's not forget the infamous leaving WWE and going to, what was that? Nitro. Eric Bischoff and becoming the bad guy. Whoa, that was a shocker. Anyway, you guys take care. It's me signing off.